Hey everyone, welcome to Catalyst Energies. My name is Dee. Thank you for joining me. I'm so grateful that you're here for this weekly astrology report. This is for the second quarter that started with our new moon solar eclipse. So not only is today the 21st, the solstice, so winter solstice in the northern hemisphere, summer solstice in the southern hemisphere, right? Marking a change in the seasons and specifically the balance of light changing. And we also are looking at this grand conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn in Aquarius, which is marking major activation in the Aquarian age. And I'm going to give you a really interesting analogy here to kind of wrap your mind around what's happening. But what we're going to look at this report is really about the next week leading up to the full moon. This conjunction and the solstice specifically has been so anticipated, so talked about, so shared on so many different platforms and so many different ways. I feel like we still have to focus on what we're going to do from this point on. And there are plenty of things that are relevant this week that are worthy of our attention and will help us, you know, really settle into the environment that we have chosen to put ourselves in, because this window really opened on the 12th and we had the new moon on the 14th, the solar eclipse. And it's not until the moon moves into Taurus on the 24th that we will really start to, each of us individually, start to settle in. The Taurus is fixed earth, and it will be the soil in which we find this new seed point planted. And that's really where we're at this moment. Actually, technically not at this moment. This is for a couple hours from now when I'm recording it, when the first quarter moon squares the Capricorn sun in Aries, 0 degrees Aries, 0 degrees Capricorn. And this is this moment here where we start to really feel the seed potential of who we are. And it's this seed that will be planted in Taurus. So this window is still open for a few more days as we start to really feel each individually what this seed point means for each of us. And the square to the Capricorn sun, the square to Mercury, also in Capricorn today, before we move into the 22nd, is going to give us some insight, because as with every first quarter moon squaring the sun in every single lunar cycle, this is a crisis in action. What are we going to do leading up to the full moon, which will give us a full illumination of the parts of ourselves that are usually hidden under the surface, in our subconscious, in the dark shadow realms of who we are, and that need to be released. And this midpoint between the new moon and the full moon is an opportunity to feel the tension between these two parts of ourselves, the feeling, how we feel the moon, and how we express ourselves, the sun, and what we're going to do about it. And with Aries, of course, there is a cardinal fire. There's action, there is impulsiveness, there is courage, there is virtue, there's dominion, all of these things that go along with Aries. It is the home sign of the warrior Mars. Well, Capricorn is cardinal earth, and it is about power. It is about authority. It is about structure and form and responsibility. It is about the capitalization of group integration. It stops being about just us, and it has to be about the pinnacle of what we are here to do collectively. It is the zenith, the 10th house cusp, the top of the chart, as you can see here, the noonday sun, as it were. And the square that we're going to feel at 0 Aries and 0, there's a lot of 0 degrees here because you have Aquarius too. 0 degrees Aries, 0 degree Capricorn, 0 degrees Aquarius. This is the distillation, the concentrated essence of all of these archetypal symbols. And so we're going to get a pretty good idea by the end of today, this afternoon, depending on where you are with this square. We may feel this impulse this impulse to be, this seed really starting to form, but it will be in attention with this part of ourselves that is our creative expression, the full fulfillment of who we are, really being much more about the collective purpose, the power that is latent in every single one of us to take authority over not just our own lives, but the lives of everybody that we're connected with. And this can go many different ways. And we're going to feel this tension today. And it's like I said, it's not until the moon comes into Taurus on the 24th that we're going to get a sense of, and this window is going to close, the Stargate. We're going to get to the other side. We've entered now. Jupiter and Saturn is kind of like that moment in the first Back to the Future movie, towards the end, where they have the whole rig set up to send Marty back, and they have it set up from the clock tower. And it's that moment where the lightning strikes, comes down and hits the setup that they made to send the power into the flex capacitor. That is the conjunction, right? We are now hurtling through time, and we've set our parameters already. That was when Saturn came into Aquarius. Jupiter came into Aquarius and set everything up, right? And now the lightning is hit, and we are hurtling through time, and we will come out the other side wherever we chose to go, right about the time that the moon comes into Taurus. Spit out, and that is when our seed point becomes planted in the soil. Okay, and not to say that things will calm down. January is incredibly active, and there is a lot of change coming in January. But in terms of this week, we are getting a sense of this new quality of being that we will inevitably be working with once we come out of the other side of this Stargate. Okay, so as of today, like I said, we have the moon in that square to the sun, and then the moon will square Mercury. And as with everything, especially with something like Aries, the pure subjective experience, the opposition to that is a pure objective experience. And the same thing with Capricorn. For all of the power and authority that it represents when we move into that first degree of Capricorn, the opposite side of that is all of the potential degradation that can happen when you try to hold on to that power, which is war. And so not only are we going to have this square between the moon and the sun, these two polar aspects of us when it comes to our impulse to be versus our expression of everything that we're here to do, right after that, we are going to feel the complete opposite of that. And then Mercury giving us the mental perspective of like, well, there is what, it's cliche, but with great power does come great responsibility. And if the other side of that power and authority is always the potential that you could utilize it, and the group integration, utilize it for war, and really waste the capital that you get from a group situation. And so those two sides of the picture are going to be shown to us very clearly today. So as we move into the 22nd, which I will show you here, we're going to just go through the week and show you all of these aspects that are going to be at play. Okay, so the 22nd, it's not a very heavy day astrologically. As you can see, the moon is already past Chiron. So the moon in Aries is going to meet Chiron. And if we've been working with Chiron, especially now that it's moving direct, this ability to self-transcend our own victimhood, our wounding. When the moon meets here, we will see this very clearly. We will get a personal experience of what this feels like to move out of this. Now, if we haven't been working with it, all we're really going to get with this transit is a doubling down on this victimhood, okay, that we will identify with our wounding even more personally and more directly, okay? So this goes either way, depending on each individual and their choice of where they want to, if they want to resonate with these energies or not. But We have the moon, like I said, meeting Chiron, and then the moon is going to trine Venus in Sagittarius, also in a fire sign. And when we talked about this in the last report, that Venus and Sag, this is about the alchemy of our relationships, like the action of alchemy through our relationships, through the projects that we care about, through the aspects of our life that we really value and mean something to us. Now, in this trine specifically, it is going to show us the moon, if we can concentrate, right? If we can see the whole organic picture without it getting split up into its constituent parts, right? The development of an inner realization of organic wholeness that only comes from concentrated attention, right? It's like looking into the crystal ball. If we can do this in our feelings, right? If we can see the organic wholeness through the lens of our feelings and through our own intuitive channel here, it will really serve Venus, who is taking some responsibility right now for, to assist people who are not in the same place, right? And the value of that, Venus is the Mother Earth energy incarnated into material form. And as with any mother, they are going to assist their children as they learn to walk upstairs, for instance, right? Learning to walk is a natural process for any young creature, right? This is something that's embedded. You learn as a result of your brain developing. But when you have to learn to do something that is mediated by human creation, it takes some assistance, and we have to be able to see the big picture. And when we can individually and internally be able to see the organic process and the wholeness of this process and not get caught up in all the constituent parts, it's going to really encourage us to be more compassionate, be more nurturing, and be more assisting with people who maybe haven't gotten there yet. Okay, that's another really helpful aspect about the 22nd. As we move through the week, though, as we get closer and closer, we still have the moon in Aries. And this is when, again, those aspects are going to be really important, because once the 23rd hits, we're going to see that the moon and Mars come together. And at the same time, Mars is going to square Pluto. These two are going to square off. Now, at one point, Mars and Pluto rule, they're co-rulers of the same sign, which is Scorpio, because before Pluto was discovered, Mars was the ruler of Scorpio. Okay, so there's desire, there's ambition, there's hunger, right? There is this really intense drive behind Aries and Scorpio. It's just one is about the self, Aries, and Scorpio is about the shared experience. When the moon meets Mars, we're going to really embody in a very personal and emotional way the warrior energy that Mars absolutely embodies. And when it squares Pluto, that is just destroying all aspects of the old guard. This is, again, going to be a real challenge, especially because we are feeling so strongly this impulse to be the seed that we are. This is an individual experience, a subjective experience, and we're going to identify very strongly with this subjective experience, and is going to be very challenged, again, by Pluto, who is just destroying everything in terms of the old structures, the old Capricorn structures, in order to create space for something new. But this is not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy on the 23rd. Expect to be very challenged in this way, okay? Beyond that, the moon, like I said, the moon is going to meet Mars, and then Mercury is going to square Chiron. And there is no room in the canoe. When you're on the war path, right? You got the war party in the canoe. There is no room in here for Chiron and focusing on where our victimhood is, right? There's just no room. There's conquest, and this is in the realm of the mind. We're going to have a very objective view here about what needs to happen in order to meet our goals, right? That is very Capricornian, meet our goals. We have a group trajectory that we need to accomplish, and it has very little to do with each of us and our victim narrative. And there will not, like I said, there's no room in the canoe for Chiron. And this will be an objective mental experience in the way that we think about it, in the communications that we have. It'll be very serious and it'll be very focused on a trajectory. So again, these two aspects in the same day, just expect to be challenged considerably on the 23rd. And then as we move into the 24th, which is Christmas Eve, this is when the moon moves into Taurus and does actually square Jupiter and Saturn in Aquarius. So there is a lot of fixed energy involved here, okay? So we come into Taurus. The moon likes to be in Taurus. She's very happy in Taurus. She nestles down into the soil. The soil holds the water just as much as the shell or the womb holds the water, right? It is a similar feeling here. And so with a square to Jupiter and Saturn, which was that huge activation, there's going to be some stubbornness here, and there's going to be a little bit of, I would say, just not wanting to really deal with this, okay? Now, the good news is, I guess if you want to call it that, is not only you can see here that the moon is going to meet Uranus, and I'll get to that in one second, but it's also going to trine the sun and Mercury on all of these earth signs. And where is that happening? Again, the sun at 4 degrees Capricorn. Let's look at it real quick, because this is, and then also, let's see here. Yeah, again, it's this, there's this energy here about this canoe, right? Like outfitting a canoe, outfitting some sort of vessel that will take us over the water, not just us, but all of us, right? And so the moon, the moon, it's got this quality here of the sun and Mercury really holding the space for our emotional essence to be really supported in this journey together. And so there'll be something to be said for our, the collective security that the sun and Mercury are representing right now in this energy when it comes to each of us emotionally and very personally wanting to be nestled into that soil. And remember, the soil, once we're here, we have to kind of trust the natural process to unfold. Once the seed is in the soil, that is a very natural process. There's nothing we can do other than wait once that happens. And when it's in a trine to Capricorn like this, Capricorn is that engine, right, of nature. It is that aspect that actually gets the process. It is the unfoldment of the natural process in action. And so there will be support here in terms of the way we express ourselves and from an objective perspective that will support our emotional ability to just really be in the moment, okay, and know that the group integration that we're expressing ourselves through is taking us where we need to go, okay? And then the moon meets Uranus in retrograde. Again, the woman at the Good Samaritan story is so important because this is where Uranus is going to be. It's going to station direct, and this is where Uranus is on the 20th. Okay, January 20th. This is important. January 20th, Mars meets Uranus at this degree. Okay, the woman at the well in Samaria. You're able to look to the future by letting go of the old and obsolete patterns. This is the path of our collective awakening. And when the moon meets Uranus, we're going to have a very, very personal and intuitive revelation about what this means, okay? At the same time that we are also in a trine to Capricorn energy, okay? Like I said, there's squares to Jupiter and Saturn because this is fixed energy too. It's fixed air. fire. It is the electricity that moves through us, right? It is the lightning that moves through us, the cosmic coherence. It's intense, okay? This is we're gonna want to feel way more grounded here, and that's okay. That's okay. I think that's there's nothing wrong with wanting to be grounded at this point. It's Christmas time. We're going to want to be comfortable. We're going to want to feel secure. We're going to want to feel supported by the group process that is unfolding. And we are, not necessarily holding a lot of space for this intensity that's going on right now. So it's okay to just know that and there'll be tension here, and that we will have to just kind of lean into it and feel it and see what we learn from this situation. Now, the 25th, as we come into Christmas Day, okay? Let's see here. Christmas Day. Good old Christmas Day. It starts to get really interesting, okay? This is when Mercury then comes to trine Uranus. So remember, this is where the moon just was when it was in a trine to Mercury and the sun. And so Uranus is gonna trine Mercury. These are two aspects of the mind, right? Mercury is our mind, our objective thinking, our intellectual capacity. Uranus is the higher octave of this. It is the collective third eye. It is the awakening, our spiritual awakening, radical transformation. These two are going to be in a trine with each other. We're going to get, this is going to be, the 25th is going to be, it's like a mediation is going to come through, and it is going to show us the patterns that need to be dropped off in order to see into the future. And there's going to be some sort of, oh boy, there's going to be, it's almost like, it's like a prophet is going, something prophesized coming through our mind, that is going to trigger this transformation. This is Christmas Day, okay? So this is going to be incredibly interesting and very, very eye-opening, okay? Moving on to the 26th, all right? We move past here. I feel like we missed something. Oh, no, we didn't. We'll just go back to this. Now, when we come to the 26th, we have the sun now in a square to Chiron. Remember I talked about with Mercury squaring to Chiron, there's no room in the canoe. Well, that was from a mental objective perspective in terms of information. Well, now it's going to be through the way we express ourselves. Again, there's no room in the canoe at this point. The Indians we are on the warpath right now, and there is no room for our victim narrative in this canoe. We are on a trajectory, and earlier it was in the communication, it was in the mind, it was something that we are intellectualizing. Now it's fully here on the 26th, fully expressed as well. And then the moon moves into Gemini on the 27th. Then the sun trines Uranus, just like Mercury did. So Mercury is setting a pathway here for our expression. We're getting a lot of information through our objective and intellectual capacities that then is going to set the stage for when the sun comes behind and we are expressing ourselves through it. So now the sun is trine Uranus, the same thing. There is going to be it's going to be like a prophet. It is going to be some sort of mediated message coming through that is going to trigger, right? Trigger a transformation when it comes to letting go of the obsolete patterns, all right? And this is, again, it's going to be shaking, earth shaking, all right? Uranus in Taurus, but it's showing us that we can't see the future. We can only see the future. We can only be able to conceptualize where we are going if we are letting go of these old obsolete patterns. That's the Good Samaritan. Not that she was a good person, and she was, but it was the fact that she was herself an outcast and was stepping away from old obsolete patterns within her own community that allowed her to see Jesus for who he actually was. He actually revealed himself fully to her because she was not shackled by the old patterns of the community that she was still part of because she was an outsider. This is going to be something that becomes very much a part of our awakening path, and we're going to be expressing ourselves through this. This is going to be very incredible. Now, as we move into the 28th, we're getting closer and closer to this full moon. The 28th of December, the moon is going to meet the North Node, okay? And so then we are going to be, we're going to be feeling our the drive towards our collective evolution, right? In terms of all of these ideas. It might be a little bit of an overwhelm. We might be getting a lot of information at this point, taking in everything that's presented to us, and having to use some discernment when it comes to the moon, because this is, taking in everything, not just, not the boundaries kind of go away with the moon unless you have outside boundaries, which is why the moon loves to be in Cancer, because that is the outside boundaries that gives containment to our emotional landscape. But meeting the North Node like this, we're going to have a very direct connection to all of these ideas, all of these objective realities that the North Node in Gemini is presenting to us. And this is where we're headed. Like, we're going to be in Gemini in the North Node now for another year. So this whole bifurcation energy as our way of evolving is not going anywhere. We're just going to have a very personal connection to it at this moment. And then as we come into the full moon on the 29th, the sun in Capricorn, opposite the moon in Cancer, at home in Cancer. And this is going to be, if we are able to align with and resonate with natural, divine, heavenly law here, if we're able to resonate with the music of the universe, then what we will see is the parts of ourselves, the innocent parts of ourselves, that are just really just now starting to search around, right? Search around and try to find meaning. Okay, this is where this is going to be a fascinating full moon, because the moon will be at home as well. And as you see here, let's see, the moon will also be in a sextile to Uranus right before it ends up in a full moon. So again, there'll be a really beneficial connection to where Uranus is in this transformation, this radical transformation through the ability to let go of the patterns that are old and obsolete. And we will give ourselves the emotional space in order to discover something new, right? Emotionally, to feel safe and secure enough to maybe explore emotionally. And again, the sun in Capricorn is letting us know that if we express and fulfill ourselves creatively through this divine resonance, we will be able to emotionally actually give ourselves some space to discover something new. And there is so much going on in January that it's going to get its own report next. But in the meantime, there is wow, we are still in that Stargate. We're actually moving through the wormhole right now. We're gonna get spit out on Christmas Eve and really kind of nestle into the world that we find ourselves in. And from there, we're gonna get a lot of insight. There's going to be awakenings happening all over the place in the rest of this week. And so just be prepared for some radical transformation and some beautiful, beautiful revelations that are coming through as a result of the path that we've chosen. So thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it so much. If you find this information beneficial, please consider subscribing to this channel, hitting the like button. That really helps get the information out there to others as well. Everything you need is in the description box below here, including the website if you want to book a reading and energy work, and of course all the social media platforms and the email for Catalyst Energies. And I will see you guys on the next video.